I'm here with Zoe today, who graduated from the B.S.P.S program in December of 2019. Since graduation, she's worked in downstream manufacturing in viral vector services, and after 6 months of manufacturing, she went to work for a small biotech company who manufacture and sell virus removal filters for downstream manufacturing of biologic drugs. In this position, she works with marketing, sales, and science and technology divisions. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Hi, thank you.
Would you first be able to explain a little bit about your current job and how you got there?
Yeah, sure. So I work for a relatively small biotech company called Asahi Kasei Bioprocess America. So my company makes and sells virus removal filters as well as other filters used in the manufacturing and purifying downstream of biologics. So in this role, I run the trainings for end users of our filters. So these are operators in manufacturing or process development labs. So I originally started in drug manufacturing. Like you said, I knew a previous TA who worked at the company who referred me, and that's how I got the job and into that position. And then from there, I moved on to the current job that I do now, which is definitely more my preference because I mix the lab work and customer relations and sales.
Did you see yourself going into that specific career path, like as an undergraduate, or at what point did you realize that that was kind of where you were going to go with your career?
Yeah, so I did a lot of undergrad research and I really enjoyed it. I loved being in the lab. I find it, one of my peaceful places. And then I also really liked speaking to people and learning more about things. And that's when I decided to do a business minor at URI. So with that, I got to learn more about, communication styles, business organization, and I saw that I would more want to lean into a sales aspect and customer relations. So that's when I decided that that was going to be more what I'd like my career to be.
Yeah, you touched upon just now being involved in undergraduate research. Could you elaborate on that a little bit? So whose lab were you involved in and kind of how did you get involved and what did you do while you were in those labs?
Yeah, so I was involved in 2 undergraduate research labs. I'll start with the first one. So the first one, I worked in Dr. Lee's lab and I did undergraduate research focusing on anti-cancer research. So the main project that I was on was looking at repair proteins and their ability to fix mutated gene sequences in cancer cells. So that consisted of a assay and then PCR and then qPCR and then analysis using an HPLC. So that was very focused on DNA and cell work. And so after being there for about a year and taking courses at URI, I realized that I wanted to explore natural product chemistry more. So looking at, the chemicals and molecules that we can get from the earth around us and from the ocean life around us. So I reached out to Dr. Rowley about if he had any positions in his lab. I reached out in the fall. And it turns out that in the spring, and it turns out he didn't have anything open in the spring, but he had a summer research intensive in Georgia that he invited me to go down to with a grad student and him. So I got to spend 2 weeks in Savannah, Georgia, researching the interactions of phytoplankton and marine bacteria. So I did that in the summer. And then when the fall came, I entered his lab as an undergraduate researcher. And that's when I started my own project. I was looking at uropathogenic E. coli and how it can cause recurrent urinary tract infections in women. So what happens is there are 2 types of E. coli when there's an infection. There's an active and a dormant strain. And so the antibiotics only treat the active. So I was looking at a way to pull the dormant out of dormancy. And so they can be treated with the active E. coli with the antibiotic. So that was using a bioassay, so growing up E. coli cells and then treating them with the antibiotic as well as a natural product cocktail or molecule, and then analyzing the results using HPLC and microscope and stuff like that. And then for purifying the natural products, I used NMR, HPLC, UV spectrometer.
Wow, that project sounds really cool that you got to
Yeah.
work on that as an undergraduate student, and like all those techniques you mentioned, I know they're like invaluable for anyone who wants to work in a lab in industry. So would you say that that experience or those experiences helped you prepare for your career?
Yeah, I would say that just getting the comfortability in a lab setting is crucial. Spending those hours, those times with other grad students and undergrad researchers and learning, how to ask questions, how to follow a lead, and then, how to do simple lab work like pipetting and, 96 well plate assays, stuff like that is really crucial because, those are the base skills that everything is built upon. So if you create those base skills like working in a biosafety cabinet and pipetting, you're more able to use those skills in the workplace.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that like kind of the difference between learning these skills in teaching labs, which we do get to experience them in teaching labs, but the difference when you're actually involved in research directly using the skills. I think for me, one thing that was really beneficial is understanding why we use the techniques we use and kind of how that works in the overall research goals of the lab. And I think that the experience of me learning why we use them and doing them day in day out in the lab and seeing how that leads to the overall research is beneficial for me, because I think I'm learning the techniques and remembering them better, and I have a more like deeper understanding of them.
Absolutely, it's crucial to build those skills and repetition, like you said, because in a teaching lab you're maybe doing it for 1 week, but in the research labs you're doing it possibly every day for weeks on end, and so you're really building those skills and comfortability in the lab.
Yeah. What would you say were some other things about the BSPS program that you really enjoyed?
So I really enjoyed the smaller class size because it really facilitated great discussions and getting to know your peers a lot easier. So it was easy to make connections with professors, speak to them about their research, their interests, their experiences. So some of them have experiences in careers before they came to URI as a professor. So learning about those experiences kind of helped me guide what I wanted to do. And so I think that was a really good resource. And then also being an Avedisian, I love that hall so much and all the medicinal plants. It was a really great place to be.
How would you say then specifically that the BSPS program prepared you directly for your career?
So I would point to 2 things. I would say that the undergraduate research labs really helped me get the comfortability and the experiences in the lab, so that, walking into something new, maybe I didn't know how to do a technique, but because I knew the base level and because I knew how to pick up skills, it would make me faster at lab work. And then the other thing would be the professor's willingness to just chat and, even just small questions like we have a GMP class and learning about regulatory, which is something that not a lot of schools focus on, was really important to understand the importance of a lot of the companies out there that hire undergrad students, that hire the BSPS in the future. So walking in to a GMP facility, already taking a GMP class and having the familiarity about, good documentation practices and all that stuff was really useful. Also, being able to analyze data and present it was such a useful skill to learn and develop at URI, because wherever you go, you're going to have to give presentations and you're going to have to understand what you're presenting, whether that's data or, company slides. And so learning and gaining that skill, it has been really useful.
Finally, then, what advice would you give to a BSPS student who's maybe a freshman or a sophomore regarding the opportunities that are available to them here in the College of Pharmacy?
Yeah, so I would just ask questions, ask questions to grad students, senior BSPS, alumni, professors, anyone, to see what your path might look like, because everyone's is different and everyone's interests are different. So just being able to ask questions, say, hey, can I shadow someone, is really important. And then there's a really great network of BSPS out there in the field. So just, coming to the panels or the mentorship program, those are really great assets that the college has set up to be able to learn more about a career path.
Yeah, that's an important point you touched on, that we have a number of resources available for students. So you mentioned the panels. We do panels once a semester roughly, and then once they have been uploaded, you can find them on our website on the careers page. So you can go back and look at those at any time. And I really enjoy that because I've watched both of them. It's nice to see where everyone is and the different paths that people have taken to get there. And, some people go to grad school and some people don't. And if you are trying to make that decision, it's nice to hear from different perspectives on, what is right for you. And so using, people have been there and done this before me, and knowing that, I can use those people. There's a really amazing alumni network that we have, and that's just invaluable, I think, for helping, when you get to kind of senior age in the BSPS program, where you want to go from there. So that's a really important point.
Absolutely. It really is crucial. And it's great that as the program grows, the community grows with it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I think this has been a really great interview, and I hope a lot of people will benefit from it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.